I set myself a challenge of making a cocktail from the best bar in the world.
The world's best bar 2024, sponsored by PBJ, is Handshake Speakeasy.
Everyone loves to go to a good cocktail bar, but only one is the best in the world. In 2024, that was in Mexico City, which is a long trip for a lot of people, including myself. So let's see if we can make it at home, using the tools I have available to me. And we'll even make a simpler version with the most basic tools too. But this challenge turned out to be even harder than I thought. The garnish on this beautiful cocktail isn't a tiny peanut butter jelly sandwich, like I first thought.
It's cocktail time.
The good people at Handshake Speakeasy were kind enough to take time and show us exactly how they make their version of the peanut butter jelly sandwich cocktail. They show all the details, but you'll recognize the beginning.
Hey friends of cocktails, my name is Eric van Beek, we're in Handshake Speakeasy.
I'm happy to call Eric a friend, and they really deserve the title of world's best bar. I'll go over what he shows in the video. First they start with vodka as the base. And a skill, of course. Then they add peanut butter and blend it all together. And use a rotovap to distill it into a clear peanut butter vodka. We of course don't have rotovap, but we'll use something different. They split this into two parts, one part becomes a peanut butter liqueur, another part is used for raspberry infusion. They also make a raspberry cordial. All of that is then batched with 𝗡𝗲𝘄𝘀𝗶𝗏𝘁𝘁𝗹𝗏𝗏, then clarified with centrifuge and filter. No centrifuge either, but that's okay. To serve, they stir it with raspberry vinegar and a little salt, strain it over ice, and finish with their peanut butter jelly sandwich. Beautiful, but hard to replicate completely. If you want to see the whole clip with commentary from Eric, it's already available on our Patreon page to all of our members. You don't need to pay anything to become a Patreon member, so it's free to watch for everybody. Thank you once again, Eric, for sharing your knowledge and the amazing things you're coming up with at the lab in Handshake Speakeasy. For anyone that finds themselves in Mexico City, then Handshake should be definitely on top of the places to go. If you can find it, of course. It's a speakeasy after all. As for the PBJ, if you don't have things like rotovap or centrifuge, it will be hard to remake it, right? Well, that's the exact reason why we created this channel. To show you how you can make world-class cocktails too, at home or at your bar, without crazy equipment. But first, let's make the simplest version that anyone can make. No DIY ingredients and no specialty tools. For the peanut butter base, we'll use Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey, a fun flavored whiskey that already tastes like creamy peanut butter. For the J part, I'll pair that with Absolute Raspberry Vodka and Strawberry Syrup. Liqueur & Co makes their Pacific Strawberry Syrup with sun-ripened strawberries from America's West Coast. We'll also add a little red wine, lemon juice, salt and a few drops of balsamic vinegar. No work needed on those, so just start adding the ingredients into a chilled mixing glass. First, it's half an ounce or 15 ml of Screwball into your mixing glass. To that we are adding 1 ounce or 30 ml of the raspberry vodka. Next, 1/4 ounce or 7.5 ml of Liqueur & Co strawberry syrup. You can of course use the raspberry as well. Now add just 1/4 ounce or 7.5 ml of red wine. I'm going with Pinot Noir. For acidity, we need 1/4 ounce or 7.5 ml of lemon juice. Now add a few drops of balsamic vinegar, and lastly, a pinch of salt. Then add plenty of ice and stir the cocktail to mix, chill and dilute. Once it's chilled, strain it into an old-fashioned glass over ice and garnish with an actual peanut butter sandwich. This one was made with homemade strawberry jam, but feel free to get the store-bought if you want to keep everything easy about this cocktail. Screwball brings the nutty flavor right away, and the raspberry vodka and syrup add the fruity jam note. It's a fun, accessible version you can make without needing a special equipment. What about for those that want to go a step further and get as close as possible to what they're making at the best cocktail bar in the world, without actually going to Mexico City? For that I'll show you how to make these ingredients to make the pro DIY version of the PBJ. Instead of the raspberry-infused peanut butter distillate, we'll just make peanut butter washed vodka. To make up for that, we'll make a raspberry liqueur in place of their peanut butter liqueur. Just like the Handshake version, we'll make raspberry cordial too. Instead of 𝗡𝗲𝘄𝘀𝗏𝗏𝘁𝗁𝗍, we'll use rosé vermouth from Novo de Dante for some nice herbal fruity wine notes. We of course already have saline solution, and I'll also show you how to make raspberry vinegar at home, so you don't have to look for it in the store. That means we have 3 ingredients that we need to make, with the tools most cocktail bars should have on hand. First up, the peanut butter washed vodka. Instead of the rotovap they use at Handshake. We'll be using a sous vide. If you don't have one, Don't worry, I showed how to make a DIY version in a cocktail hacks episode I'll link above. So into a sous vide bag I'm adding 55 grams of peanut butter. At Handshake they use a smooth peanut butter, so that's what I'm using as well. The base spirit is the same as well, so pour in 500 ml or 17 ounces of vodka. Then blend this together using a hand blender, but that's not necessary for the sous vide. Now seal the bag well. If you have a vacuum chamber sealer, that's the best option. A smaller vacuum sealer also works, but be careful so the liquid doesn't get pulled into the machine. It's happened to me more often than I'd like to admit. With the bag sealed, place it into a sous vide bath that's been set to 60 degrees Celsius or 140 degrees Fahrenheit, and we'll cook it for 2 hours. The sous vide is one of the most used tools for infusions here on Cocktail Time. It keeps the temperature steady, it locks in all the flavors, and it gives us a really clean and even extraction. After 2 hours, take the bag out and let it cool down a bit. Then place it into the freezer. Here the peanut butter will separate from the vodka as it solidifies. That makes it easy to remove later. Once it's fully set, cut open the bag and pour the liquid through a coffee filter. I'm using a Chemex, and I'll place this in the freezer as it filters. This way the fat doesn't melt while it's being filtered. What you'll end up with is clear vodka that has a rich peanut butter flavor, and that's exactly what we need for the PBJ cocktail. Next up, we're making the raspberry liqueur. For the first part, we'll need raspberries, sugar, ascorbic acid, and pectinex. Later, we'll add high-proof alcohol as well. Now, because it's not raspberry season here, I'll be using frozen raspberries that I already defrosted. If you have fresh ones in season, just use those. We need 500 grams of them in the blender, together with 60 grams of sugar, 0.4 grams of ascorbic acid, and 1 gram of pectinex. Blend this for about a minute or until it's completely smooth. The sugar will add sweetness, the ascorbic acid will keep the color bright, and the pectinex helps break down the fruit, so we get more juice out of it after the next step, the cryo concentration. For that, we'll pour our mixture into a container and freeze it solid. This technique was developed by Ian McPherson, the cocktail panda. Then we'll let this frozen raspberry block slowly defrost on a fine strainer. Use a scale and make sure you write down the weight of the frozen mixture. As it melts, the concentrated juice drips out, leaving behind the ice crystals. We are aiming for half of the weight of what we started with. At that point, we should end up with a raspberry liquid that's around 24 bricks, which means it's nice and sweet, and packed with flavor. Now for every 100 ml of this juice, add 34 ml of 96% alcohol, so we get to the right ABV level. As with all the liqueurs we make, you have a calculator available to you on kevincos.com with a free 4-day trial. Mix this well, then bottle it and add the label. You can use it right away, but it's best after about 3 days, once the flavors have married together. Next up, we're making the raspberry cordial. We'll need raspberries, water, and a little lemon peel. Later, we'll add sugar and acids to balance everything out. Again, these were frozen raspberries, but if you have fresh ones, just use those. Add 300 grams of raspberries into a pot, together with 150 ml or 5 ounces of water and a small piece of lemon peel. Now bring this up to a gentle simmer. Cook for about 5 minutes, stirring a few times to make sure nothing sticks. When that's done, put the mixture into a cloth filter and let it strain. To get a bit more juice and flavor, we're using one of my favorite cocktail hacks, a potato ricer. Still, do this gently. Once strained, measure the liquid you collected. Then it's time for a little math. But again, the cocktail calculators on kevincos.com are there for cordials as well. We ended up with 260 ml of the liquid, so I'm adding 99 grams of sugar, 3.6 grams of citric and 3.6 grams of tartaric acid. That gives it a nice balance of sweetness and acidity that will pair nicely with the raspberry flavor. Stir until everything is dissolved, or let the magnetic stirrer do that for you. And that will be our raspberry cordial done. That gives us a cooked, jammy raspberry flavor, which is different from the fresh, bright raspberry we had with the liqueur. Together, they'll give the cocktail a much deeper raspberry profile, and that's really the beauty of the different layers in this PBJ cocktail. But that wasn't even the biggest challenge. This was. Handshake Speakeasy makes batches of this cocktail for easier and faster serving, but we'll make a single serve. Start by adding everything into the large shaker tin, 1 ounce or 30 ml of peanut butter washed vodka, 3/4 of an ounce or 22.5 ml of raspberry liqueur, 3/4 of an ounce or 22.5 ml of raspberry cordial, and 10 ml of rosé vermouth. That's a little over 1/4 of an ounce. Next, add 3 drops of 20% saline solution, and finally 1 dash of raspberry vinegar. You can actually make your own raspberry vinegar by mixing 1 part apple cider vinegar and 1 part of a raspberry cordial. Fill a small shaker tin with ice, add a strainer, and instead of shaking or stirring, we're going to use the throwing technique. That means pouring the liquid back and forth between 2 tins. This chills and dilutes the drink while adding a touch of aeration, but it's also gentler than shaking, so we keep the cocktail smooth and crystal clear. Once the cocktail is nicely mixed and cold, strain it into a chilled tulip glass with a clear ice block. And for the final touch, place a special garnish on the cocktail. Looks just like a mini PB&J, and it ties the whole drink together. But let's try the cocktail first. It's smooth, fruity, nutty, and playful all at once. Really a big step above the simple version we made before. But this just makes me want to go to Mexico City even more. Also, to try the original garnish. And that was actually the biggest challenge of making this cocktail, which I should have seen coming. Handshake Speakeasy has another famous cocktail with a unique garnish. Their banana split cocktail is garnished with what looks like an actual Lego piece, but it's actually a chocolate Lego filled with banana cream, made in collaboration with the local chocolatier in Mexico City, and she makes the peanut butter sandwiches as well. Looking at the photos, I was sure it's just a nice little PBJ sandwich.
It's actually white aerated chocolate with a little bit of peanut butter and a strawberry jelly inside.
It goes without saying, I'm not a professional chocolatier, but I did my best to make something close. For the real deal, we'll all still need to visit the best bar in the world. But thanks to the awesome Cocktail Time community, I was able to improve the recipe last minute. I got a comment under the reel for ruby chocolate dipped cherries saying that if you add a cacao butter, you can skip tempering chocolate. I love learning stuff like this from you guys. So I'm starting by chopping up 200 grams of white chocolate, adding 30 grams of cacao butter and melting that over a hot water bath until it's smooth. If you want to be precise, heat it up to 60 degrees Celsius or 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Once that's fully melted, we want to have a slightly heated up easy siphon ready. Pour the melted chocolate in it and charge it with 1 nitrous oxide cartridge. Shake for about 30 seconds. Release the chocolate foam into a chilled glass container, then add the lid. Place the container into a vacuum chamber and pull vacuum for about 10 seconds. Then the magic, or better yet, physics happens. When the pressure is released, the trapped air expands and creates a sponge-like texture in the chocolate. You can get a similar effect using a food storage container with a vacuum pump lid. Now move the containers to the freezer and let the chocolate set completely. Once you take it out of the freezer, make sure to give it some time to temper, or it will crumble as we cut it. We'll cut it into small squares, like mini toasts, before adding the crust. To do that, I'll dip the sides in cocoa powder, to make it look like the crust was burnt a bit. Don't take too much time with this, because chocolate will start melting. Place this in the freezer so it's ready to be served. When that time comes, just spread some peanut butter on top, and finish with a little strawberry jam. A really fun challenge, and it makes a garnish that surprises you with a taste just like it does with the looks. If you had a cocktail somewhere that you'd like me to break down and try to find an easier way of making it, let me know in the comments below. In the meantime, check out the cocktails I made from the first season of Drink Masters. Cheers!